Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the IBEC Region 5 meeting. We will be starting the meeting in about 3 minutes, just to allow a few more people to join us today. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the IBEC Region 5 meeting. We will be starting the broadcast in about 1 minute. If you haven't already, please take a look at the right-hand side of your screen and locate the questions box. We encourage you to type in any questions that you may have throughout the presentation, and we will address them in the discussion period. Thank you all for joining us for the IBEC Region 5 meeting. We will now begin the presentation.
Hello. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for sharing your lunch hour today on the West Coast with us. My name is Simon Zinkowicz. I'm the Region 5 IBEC Director. I want to thank all attendees. This year we're trying to adapt to the COVID pandemic and have taken this meeting virtual. So first and foremost, I hope that you are staying safe and that you are adapting as well as can be to the challenges posed by this pandemic that are both professional as well as impacting our personal lives. With that, as I mentioned, this new format, we're doing the Region 5 meeting before the virtual convention, which will start this Friday. And we've opened it up to not only members of IBEC, but as well anybody who's interested in attending. So before we get into this, I would first want to also introduce what IBEC is. We are the International Institute of Building Enclosure Consultants, and our mission is to advance the profession of building enclosure consultants. So that's consultants working on areas such as roofing, waterproofing, exterior walls, and really anything separating the exterior from the interior side of the building. We kind of framed it as 6 sides of the box. Today's agenda, which is up on the screen, will introduce, we'll have some words from Scott Hinesley, the current IBEC president. The IBEC Executive Vice President and CEO, Brian Plash, will also provide some updates how IBEC is coping and providing member services throughout this pandemic. We'll also have updates in terms of what's going on in our region, both from our chapter leaders, as well as events that IBEC is hosting for our members within Region 5. With that, I would like to now introduce, as we start all meetings, by reading Article 21 of our procedures. Next slide, please. So Article 21, I'm going to pull it up here on my screen since it's very little fine print. So Article 21. There we go. Antitrust compliance policies and procedures. Section 1, jurisdiction. These policies and procedures apply to all meetings of the membership, board, and committees, other meetings sponsored by IBEC, and all meetings attended by representatives of IBEC, and to all IBEC employees in all of their activities within the scope of their employment. Section 2, prohibitions and violations. A, discussions of price or price levels are prohibited. In addition, no discussion is permitted of any elements of a company's operations which might influence price. B, it is a violation of the antitrust laws to agree not to compete. Therefore, discussions of division of territories or customers or limitations on the nature of business carried on or products sold are not permitted. And C, boycotts in any form are unlawful. Discussion relating to boycotts is prohibited, including discussions about blacklisting or unfavorable reports about particular companies, including their financial situation. So with that, I'm going to introduce Scott Hinesley, who pre-recorded a little piece message to share with you.
Thanks, Simon. I appreciate the introduction. Again, I'm Scott Hinesley. I'm the current president of IBEC, and I appreciate all of you all taking the time away from the craziness to join us today for the Region 5 meeting. Certainly are a lot of weird things going on, and I don't think any of us are immune to the weirdness that's happening around us. So, but having said that, I hope all of you are staying busy. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're staying sane. Thanks for taking the time to join us. I look forward to the stuff that we're going to learn today during the region meeting. And I appreciate Brian and Simon and everyone else at IBEC taking the time to put all this together. So I do want to remind you that this weekend is the start of our first ever virtual convention. Starts on Friday, ends on Sunday. And I know that the whole IBEC team has done a lot to prepare for it. There's going to be a lot of educational sessions. Typically, whenever you show up to the convention, you don't have the opportunity to see all of the educational sessions. But in this format, you're going to be able to at least see all of them. It's going to be extended for several weeks beyond this weekend. So you will certainly have the opportunity to learn quite a bit more than you normally would. Different format, we understand that. It may not fit everybody's schedule, but that's why Brian and the team has decided to extend the time period in which you can participate. So Thanks again for the forethought for them moving on the fly to be able to put this virtual convention together. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from everyone, and we look forward to seeing how it works out. You know what? This is the first go at it, and I think it's going to help us learn a lot about things we can do in the future to make a lot of these meetings a lot more accessible for our members. Before I end up, I do want to remind everyone about the foundation auction. It starts on Friday morning. It opens up, bidding opens Friday morning, 8:30 Central Time. So be sure to go onto the website, log in and register, and you'll be able to bid all the way through Sunday evening, about 7:30 Central Time. So Rick Gardner's got a lot of neat items that are being auctioned off. So take a look at them, and hopefully we can raise some money for a great cause for the foundation. So again, thanks again for joining us. I hate that we can't do this in person. I look forward to seeing all of you in person soon, but right now this is just the reality. So we'll embrace it. We'll come out on the other side and be better because of it. And now I will turn it over to Brian, and he will give you the rest of the story. Thanks so much.
So I want to introduce next is Brian Palash. He's the IBEC EVP CEO, to provide you some updates with respect to IBEC's COVID response, as well as some other going-ons. So here's Brian.
Simon, thanks. And I think Scott was just going to give you all basically a welcome message. We can make that available. We'll see if we can get the PowerPoint fixed. I will tell you, this seems to be just another one of those fun technology things that all of us have been dealing with for the last 11 weeks. And so I'll just chalk this up as to one of those things that, we tested it and it worked, and then it didn't work when we got it out into the field. So not that any of us have ever not had that happen before, right? The first thing I wanted to say and make clear to everybody is I hope everyone's safe and sound and taking care of yourselves. We are in clearly unprecedented times. None of us has ever endured or participated in, I guess if we want to call it that, a pandemic. So we are all in a little bit of uncharted territory. IBEC is no different. I will say, and I give kudos to the IBEC staff team, we are fully functional and operational. I'm coming to you from my house in Raleigh, and the rest of the staff team is dispersed through the Raleigh area in their homes. We are working to get back to the office, and likely we'll have a skeleton crew back on Sunday Drive in the next week or 10 days. So looking forward to that. I was actually in the office last week and was thrilled to actually be sitting at my desk and doing some work in a somewhat familiar setting, although I'd forgotten a little bit about it in the last 11 weeks. A couple of things that we've done, though, and as we discussed this idea that this is unprecedented what we're dealing with, a few things that IBEC's been able to do in the near term to help our members. Number one, all memberships have a 3-month grace period on them. So if your membership dues were due on June 1st, you now get a 3-month grace period. We certainly still want you to pay your membership, and we need folks' membership dues so IBEC can continue to provide the tools and resources that you need and the member benefits that you desire. But understanding that we're all in an unprecedented time and finances may be tight for someone, we have granted that 3-month grace period. In addition, when it comes to registration renewals, we've extended the time for CEH credits from December 31st, 2019. If you remember, normally there's a grace period, I think it's through the end of March. Some of our members get their credits at that March annual convention. We've extended that all the way till December 31st, 2020. Most of the renewals for registrations have actually already come in for the year, I'm pleased to report. And we are nearly back up and running in terms of being able to take registration exams, and very happy about that. A number of folks were applying for registration, applying for their registrations and getting ready to take the test during the first few weeks of our COVID shutdown or lockdown, whatever we call that. We also held an April 15th town hall meeting. That's available on the IBEC website, where we talked about a number of the programs that were available to small businesses, as well as some of the things some of the panelists were seeing with regards to design contracts and other workings from the contractual side of what you all do as consultants, and then also a little bit about what folks were going through from a health and safety perspective in terms of getting back onto job sites. So if you weren't party and didn't partake of that, some of it may be a little bit old, but some of it's probably still useful, and that's available on our COVID-19 web resources page, which you can see the URL down there on the slide. We put together a one-stop shop of resources for IBEC members. Some of it's stuff to go to federal government websites. We had at one point still a listing up there of states and when their construction bans were in place and when they were opening back up. And so some of that stuff is available, and I would urge you to go take a look at it. As things are changing, we're trying to keep that up to date. The last thing that we've been doing is engaging in a little bit more public policy as it relates to some of the programs that the federal government has put out for small businesses. And in addition to that, we've also been trying to engage with state and local governments where appropriate to remind them that folks in our industry, building enclosure and roofing, have a responsibility really in many instances to still be active on job sites, simply because the building enclosure is really the first line of defense for everyone inside the building. So I know that we sent a letter to the governor of Washington State and urging him to re-examine what they were doing. And I think at this point, my understanding from Bob Card is Washington State is slowly opening back up. So tried to do some of that. Next slide, please, Tara. And so those are things we've done with regards to just sort of the current situation with regards to COVID-19. But we've also been doing the normal work that IBEC is supposed to be doing on a day-to-day basis when there's not a pandemic going on. We are making significant progress with regards to the CBE CXP commissioning provider certification. We are hopeful that in the summer it's going to debut. I will admit to you on the phone, unfortunately, that this travel ban that we are all facing or have been facing has slowed us down quite a bit. We were supposed to have an in-person meeting at the annual convention to finalize the rest of the questions. That obviously did not happen. Because of the way we're creating this certification through the ISO process, there are some security protocols with regards to question development, and we are working our way through those. Though we should be ready to write some more questions in the early June, July timeframe, and mid-June to early July timeframe, and finish those up. And then also the application will be finished up. And once the application's finished up, all of you will be able to go online and fill it out and get ready to take that exam, which we hope will be live by the end of the summer. In addition to that, many of you saw, and some of you have already purchased, we've completed the 3rd edition of the Manual of Practice for IBEC. We're pretty excited that this is finally coming out. It is an electronic format, which is copyright protected, and we continue to be selling them. You can get them on the website. I will say we did hear from some of you and have done a little bit of work during this time and are able to do a print-on-demand version of this document. You know, I share some folks' concerns that they still like paper. I still like paper books and things like the Manual of Practice. So we were able to figure out a cost-effective way to do that, and that option is now available for folks. And if you want to bundle it with an electronic version as well, you could do that. There's a whole entire menu of options for you to purchase and utilize that Manual of Practice. And then last but not least, we also would have been a little bit more of a splash because you would have heard more about it at the annual convention. But we launched 2 new committees for IBEC. One is the Codes and Standards Committee. Emily Lorenz, our new Senior Director of Technical Activities, is the staff contact for that. David Hahn is the current chair of that committee. And it's really going to focus our efforts to improve what we're doing in engaging with codes and standards development bodies, not only ICC and others, but also down at the local level as well. So we want to make sure we're engaged all throughout that process and ensuring that the codes reflect the proper public health and safety that they should be reflecting to ensure that the building enclosure is safe. And in addition to that, we were able to, Bob Card and Scott Hinesley work to create the IBEC Industry Liaison Committee. It's a committee that is helping us better understand how we can work with our manufacturer and supplier partners, whether it be improving the trade show or improving some of the things we offer in terms of sponsorships, but also coming up with other ideas to where we can maybe do some research for the industry and better educate roofing consultants and building enclosure consultants. So that's a little bit of an update about what we're currently working on. So just to make clear that we have not stopped the good work of IBEC, and things are moving forward. So next slide. In addition to that, since the time I've been here, and we will click over 1 year tomorrow that I'll have been on staff. I've been working for IBEC for 364 days, not that I'm counting. It's been an interesting ride, I will say, certainly the last 10 or 11 weeks. But one of the things we focused on was, IBEC's gone through quite a bit in the last 18 months. Some leadership changes, and then more importantly, about a year ago, as you all know, 14 months ago, we changed our name. And when I came on board, I worked with the staff and the board and the executive committee to sort of refocus and re-engage with our strategic plan and make sure that the plan that the board adopted back at the end of 2017 was still reflective of the organization that we want to become. And we've made some minor tweaks to it. And Tara's going to take us through 2 more slides. The first slide, it's just blowing that one piece of paper up. And I would note that 1-page strategic plan is available. If you use your toolbar on the right, there's a way to get to that. I think Simon's going to give you some clues on that, and if not, Tara will do that. But as you can see, the purpose, vision, and the values of IBEC really have not changed. Those first 3 key goals, the value of IBEC to our members, advocacy, and registrations and certifications, have not significantly changed. We certainly added the fact that we're developing this commissioning certification as a key thing that we're working on, and we'll finish, knock on wood, this year. Next slide. And then looking at the other pieces of the puzzle, if you will, knowledge transfer, giving you all the knowledge that you need to better do your jobs and better compete in this industry is something we're clearly working on, whether that's through some of the new online tools that we've been required to partake in at this point, whether it's working to expand chapters and make them more successful. That's a key component as well. And then the last 2 are things that we actually added, and they aren't things that IBEC hasn't been doing before. It really just it struck me, and as we were discussing this with the executive committee and the board and the staff, a focus on emerging professionals is terribly important for the organization. We want IBEC to continue long into the future, and unless we're making sure that younger professionals feel at home at IBEC and can have the opportunities and the education that they need to succeed in this profession, they won't come and participate with us. So one of our goals is to ensure that we're doing all we can and listening to emerging professionals and their needs. And then certainly ethics, since IBEC started, or since RCI started, now IBEC, we've had a significant focus on ethics. And it makes us a little bit different than lots of other organizations, and a renewed commitment or at least highlighting the notion of the importance of ethics for IBEC members is a key item and a key focus of the strategic plan. Certainly every year when you all go and re-up your registrations and or your membership, you are signing the code of ethics, but we want it to be a little bit more than that. Some of you may have noticed we've started to have quarterly ethics columns in the interface journal. We will continue to do that. The ethics committee is going to take over the authorship of some of those. Currently, we've been working with the American Society of Civil Engineers and partnering with them on putting some of that together. So we're excited about the sort of the dusting off and re-engagement with the strategic plan, and look forward to having all of us as IBEC members and chapter leaders, et cetera, work towards the success of that strategic plan. Next slide, Tara. You may have heard a little something about the fact that we have a virtual convention coming up, June 12th to 14th. So starting on Friday, you're going to join nearly 1,000 of your colleagues, and it will be over 1,000 by the time we get to Friday, in participating in the first ever virtual convention and trade show for IBEC. And frankly, we think it's the first one in this sort of building enclosure space. So we're pretty excited about it. A couple of things to note. All 24 education sessions that you are going to have access to in Houston are going to be available as part of this virtual convention. And one of the benefits, I think, of the virtual convention is you're going to be able to actually consume all 24 of those sessions. Those of you who are signed up, and you still may sign up as we speak, those of you who are already signed up or are signed up are going to have from June 12th all the way until July 15th to watch and engage in those education sessions. So yes, June 12 to 14 is the core of the meeting. Each one of those days, we're going to have a live education session, and that's sort of the core piece. But moving on, the archived pieces will be available through July 15th. This is where you'll go and start your education, if you will. And this is the previous slide was sort of the entranceway to the convention. It's the homepage, if you will. This page lets you view the presentations. You can see we've allowed for sponsorships, just like we were going to have in Houston. You'll just go to that one main center bar there and click to view presentations. A grid will come up where you can view the presentation you want to view. Next slide, Tara. In addition to that, you can actually track down, unfortunately, you won't be able to track down people in the hotel bar or at a restaurant or necessarily in the hallway, but you will be able to find colleagues and folks that you'd like to talk to using the attendee chat and communication feature. So you'll be able to make those connections that you've made in the past. Again, trying to accommodate for the fact that we are not all going to be there in person. Next is the exhibit hall, which we have currently 65 booths that will be participating, 65 different exhibitors that will be participating. We're pretty excited about this, and these are the folks that I would say stuck with us. This is a new and uncharted territory for many folks doing an online and exhibit hall, and I'm really pleased that all these companies were willing to stick with us and participate with us. One of the things that we will be doing is you'll be able to get points. There are what they call Easter eggs, as they call them, on various pages, and you'll collect points for going to booths, you'll collect points for going to education sessions, and then you'll be able to win prizes, much like you were winning prizes on the exhibit floor at the normal convention, by accumulating more points. The leaderboard is available, and you'll be able to find it in the software, so you can see where you are. And I've certainly been urging everyone to visit as many exhibitors as possible. and chat with your colleagues and learn something about their products. So next. This is what an exhibit booth looks like. There's a couple of different designs. For this presentation, we're featuring the IBEX, the RCI IBEC Foundations booth. They will be having their silent auction. That was one of the pieces that Scott was going to talk about. They will be having a good portion of their silent auction is going to be live during the convention. You do have to register to bid. You can do that by going to the foundation website now, but I would urge you all to take a look at some of the prizes that are available for auction. This is sort of the way the booths will look. It's not sort of, it is the way that the booths will look. There'll be a variety of resources that you can access. There's a live chat function during that Friday, Saturday, Sunday piece where you'll be able to communicate directly and in a live fashion with participants from the various exhibiting companies, and they've committed to have staff available during the booth hours to be able to make that live connection. Next, Tara. A couple of other upcoming events, and since we're in Region 5, which is on the West Coast, we are still scheduled. Although I will put a big asterisk or maybe a tentative next to the IC Best meeting in Vancouver, Canada. As most of you are well aware, at this point we can't fly to Canada, or in the case of Bob Card, you can't drive to Canada. Well, maybe you can drive there, you just can't get across the border. Our goal is still to have this meeting in August and September. Currently, we are honestly simply waiting on the government of British Columbia to make a determination as to whether they're going to allow large gatherings. Currently, they are not allowing large gatherings, and so we are sort of waiting for them at this point to make a determination. Obviously, we'd like them to make a determination sooner rather than later. The next time likely that we can all be together will be November 20th to 22nd at the BES Plus. This will actually be at the hotel we would have been at in March at the Marriott Marquis in Houston. The plus part of the BES Plus is going to be having the annual awards ceremony that should have taken place in Houston, and we're going to have the auxiliary seminars that would have taken place on the Friday of the convention. So we look forward to seeing hopefully many of you in Houston in person. It will be nice to see folks in person again. And then last but not least, please mark your calendars. We are coming to Region 5 for the International Convention and Trade Show. It'll be March 4th through 9th. It'll be downtown in Phoenix. So we're looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll see everyone on this call there and many more from Region 5. And with that, I believe I'm done, and Simon, it's back to you.
All right, thanks for that update, Brian. Now we'll kind of get back to the Region 5 kind of specific items. Here you kind of get the duality of, hold on, you can go back to the previous slide, Sarah, of what I looked like pre-COVID and what I currently look like with my wife's best attempt to give me a haircut. So with that, I just wanted to also explain as a region director what kind of my role is as a liaison between the IBEC Inc. board, which I sit on, and then the region activities, which are represented by the chapters. And so it's kind of a two-way street. One is giving updates to the chapter leaders from initiatives that IBEC Inc. is pursuing, but then as well to take issues from and concerns from our members as well as our chapters up to the board, so that there is unity between those two parts of the organization. Next slide. So our region is vast. It encompasses essentially from Montana down to New Mexico, all the way out to Hawaii, and then up to Alaska. So with that, it presents a lot of logistical challenges with respect to getting our members in one space or even one time zone. And I think the challenges and the adaptations that we're trying to come up with to deal with some of these restrictions and limitations placed by this COVID pandemic is through virtually connecting. And so I think there's a lot of benefits to be had with that, especially for our region that's challenged quite a bit with the geography. With this map, I kind of highlighted the chapters in which, or the states in which we have chapters. They include kind of from north to south, Washington, Oregon. We have 2 in California. We have 1 in Colorado, and then we have our 6th, which is our newest chapter that just recently became a chapter in Arizona. Next slide. So at a glance, this is kind of a moving number, but we have about 650 to just under 700 members within our region, which represents about a 19 to 20% percentage of the total IBEC members, which are about 3,600. With that, as I mentioned, we have 6 total chapters, and then the graphic to the right, we see kind of the net new membership growth presented from last year. We see the curve in blue, and then the orange is this year to date, or I guess through May, given the challenges, again, that directly impact our organization and how we deliver education or have networking events, which are all in-person type of activities. I think will be uniquely, or not uniquely, but specifically impacted by COVID, I should say directly, because it really hits at the core of what our members enjoy doing, as well as the services through which we offer. That again presents, I think, these benefits through virtual learning, where we were able to cast a larger net and potentially market to other sectors without the expenses that necessarily bore with cost of travel and lodging. So again, we're uniquely positioned. However, I think it's a value proposition to now have people come and our members, stay within the organization to realize these benefits, since we are going to be competing with a lot of other organizations, especially in the realm of virtual learning, whether it be free credits or seminars which are paid. I think the body of knowledge is unique, as Brian put, in the building enclosure space, and we feel that we really champion those individuals compared to other organizations. Next slide. This is a breakdown. You may not be able to see the sharpness of this graphic, but it shows a more deeper dive with respect to our members and which states they reside. So approximately 40% of our Region 5 membership is within California. You can see we have 2 chapters there, the NorCal and the SoCal chapter. Next, we have the other big states are, of course, Washington, Oregon, and Arizona, in which we all have chapters. And about 90% of the Region 5 membership is actually located within these 4 states. So again, this is just a deeper dive with respect to the location of our members. Next slide. Here we see a breakdown of the professional registrations. Again, this is something unique that our organization offers, which are these specialty credentials that really distinguish consultants and industry people that are members of IBEC in their specific professions. So from the top, we have the RRC, which is the Registered Roof Consultant, which is the oldest registration that we possess. Then the RRO is the Registered Roof Observer. And as we go down the list, the REWC is the Registered Exterior Wall Consultant. Then the respective Registered Exterior Wall Observer, which is our latest registration. And then we have the registered waterproofing consultant, which is the RWC. And then once you obtain the RRC, the REWC, and the RWC, you become a RBEC, which is a registered building enclosure consultant. Here we see on the left the registration trends for our region in 2019. And then on the right, we see what the numbers are through May in 2020. I think those of us that are impacted by the economic state, and I learned this fact when we went through the strategic plan development with a consultant several years ago, was that actually during economic hardship times, membership in organizations such as IBEC actually increases as the workforce tries to increase their professional development, increase their certifications and registrations to distinguish themselves from others, as well as engage in continuing learning. So I encourage those of us that have maybe been putting off obtaining some of these registrations later down the road. We can pull those from the back burner if we do find some time to achieve those. It may be beneficial to do that at this time. Next slide. And here are kind of the totals in terms of professional registrants in our Region 5, and then the breakup on the right side between consultant members and industry members. I think one of the other benefits that IBEC possesses is that we don't only have consultant members, but actually a large percentage of our membership is from industry, meaning manufacturers or contractors, those individuals that are not practicing consulting. And from them, we obtain great benefits, as well the camaraderie, since we do work together throughout this industry, but as well the financial support and the sponsorships that they provide that make a lot of the chapter activities and IBEC's initiatives a reality. So we are very grateful for these industry members that, again, provide and give back quite a bit to making this organization what it is. Next slide. One of the measures by which IBEC kind of tracks the performance of chapters is through this chapter award, which is an annual checkup that the chapter leader, the vice president, fills out with respect to target areas that IBEC's looking for in terms of performance from its chapters with respect to things such as advocacy, education, leadership, philanthropy, and these are all indicators of essentially the health status of the chapter. And I'm very proud to say that from this past year, all 5 of our chapters that were chapters at that point received some of the highest awards that can be granted. So for the Platinum Award, which is the highest, that was obtained by the Portland chapter as well as the SoCal chapter. And then not too far behind them, the gold measure was obtained by the Colorado chapter, the Puget Sound chapter, and as well the NorCal chapter. So kudos, I'm very fortunate to say that the chapters in my region are very high performing, very ambitious, and they obtain their goals, which makes my position here a little easier. So thank you for that, and congratulations and kudos to those chapters. Next slide. Now we're going to go through and just receive some chapter updates from the leaders. What we're going to go through is kind of alphabetically have each chapter present maybe a 5-minute, no longer, update as to the activities that they're doing. Also, just a housekeeping item that I think I forgot to mention was in your chat panel, you can type in any questions that you may have, and we'll read them out loud and respond to them at the end of this presentation. So with this, the first person I would like to ask to give an update is Henry Staggs. Henry is the current president of the Arizona chapter. And with that, what's going on in Arizona, Henry?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, we've been at this for 2 years. Finally got our chapter charter. We got to change the name a little bit for IBEC's satisfaction. We got money in the bank. A lot of manufacturers stepping up to sponsor us, and a couple of fellows that are going to start a membership drive committee and a golf committee, which I don't play, but apparently I'm going to have to learn. So that's where we're at. That's all. Unless you have more.
Great. Thank you, Henry. Well, and it sounded like, too, you guys recently had a webinar, which is great. And again, I want to say sincerely thank you for taking the leadership and infusing some life into the Arizona region to support our members. Next, I would like to invite Logan Christensen. He's the current president of the Colorado chapter.
Awesome. Thanks, Simon. Here in Colorado, we're, abiding by social distancing guidelines as much as possible. We had a board meeting in last month, 1st of May, to kind of just touch base and connect some dots and see where we were at. We were going to do a meeting in June, but that has been canceled, and we're looking at trying to fit something in for the 3rd quarter, and obviously 4th quarter for some more learning activities and possibilities. We are excited about the virtual convention because that's going to be great learning for anybody from anywhere in the country. So that's great, and we're looking forward to that. And then golf tournament, as of right now, is still on the plate for September. Just kind of we'll have to see how things go as we get closer. So not a whole lot more than that, but we're just plugging away and keeping moving. Thanks, Simon.
Great. Thanks for that update, Logan. John from Portland.
Good afternoon, everybody. We made platinum last year by a point, so kudos to Farron for that. We've been working on our long-range planning. We've been working on a 3-year plan, hopefully to have that wrapped up by the end of the month. We've had to push off a couple meetings. We've had one chapter meeting. We pushed our June chapter meeting. We're pushing that to July. So we hope to get the 3 chapter meetings in this year for the points for the chapter award. That's going to be a virtual, so that'll be some new ground for us. We just had our meeting, and it's not even July yet, but our nominating committee is going to meet this month for board members next year. We pushed our golf tournament we were going to have it July 31st. And just because of not being able to get together, sit down together, eat together, and all that, we pushed that back to September 18th. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you, John. Jordan from Puget Sound.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. Our chapter is in the same boat as everyone else. We held our chapter meeting, educational seminar in February, which went well, but then we're really gearing up for a couple of events coming couple of events in May that were unfortunately canceled in light of social distancing requirements. So we are in the process of pivoting a portion of that to a online based educational opportunity, working with the board to finalize some of those details and confirm with our presenters. Our golf tournament at this point, our golf committee, based on informal polls of our membership, has been postponed. I think that just based off of as John mentioned, the interest in wanting to have a productive networking opportunity, and then in our state, in terms of what we physically can do, the logistics of not being able to have foursomes, but twosomes, and so on and so forth, that it's a pretty large cash outlay. And then also talking with our manufacturer partners, their budgets in light of everyone's revenue being down are impacted by that as well. So we are very fortunate that our chapter has a really strong financial footing. So now we as a board are working to figure out how best to stay in front of our membership and push our chapter's goals going forward, including trying to continue to engage with local universities, which now that they have all moved to remote learning has pretty much ground to a halt. So that's what we have.
All right, thank you for that, Jordan. I'm not sure, Tara, do we have who we have from NorCal? I wasn't able to get a hold of Megan. I see that Jerome is in attendance. Maybe we can circle back.
Hey, Simon. Yeah, let's see if we can give
Better.
Jerome audio, and then we can circle back. It looks like we've got Ivan ready.
Okay. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Hey, Ivan, from the other side of the office, can you please provide an update on the SoCal chapter?
So we started our year off like most others, pre-pandemic. We had our Hawaii Winter Workshop, our 20th anniversary event. That was January 16th and 17th in the Big Island. We had approximately 93 attendees, so there was very good attendance there. We've since had to push back our golf tournament, which was originally scheduled for April 24th. That's now been rescheduled to September 11th. But of course, that date is kind of up in the air depending on how social distancing protocols go into place. But for now, we're tentatively scheduled to proceed with that. The one thing that we were caught a little bit flat-footed on was how to adapt to hosting a virtual meeting, which the SoCal chapter has not completed yet to date. So we're currently working through those technological and logistical hurdles, but we're planning to have our first meeting of the year next month, July 23rd. The other thing that we're currently weighing is how to proceed with our next year's Hawaii Winter Workshop, given that approximately 75% of our attendees will have to fly over to the island in order to attend the event. So given that there's a lot of fear and anxiety as far as air travel, we have to kind of take a deeper look at our numbers and see if that's going to be feasible to pursue in next year or what our contingency plans are. But that's kind of our work in progress. We're planning to have a board meeting probably in the next month or so just to debate these kind of ongoing items as far as our large events, golf, as well as Hawaii. And that's all I have.
And Simon, it looks like we have Jerome Jeffers available as a panelist.
Great. Jerome, the immediate past president of the NorCal chapter, can you give us a little update as to what's going on with NorCal?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, I'm not as prepared as I should have been. Thought Megan was going to be able to attend. Yeah, but like everyone else, we've been hit as well. So we've had to miss a couple of meetings. We were able to hold technical meeting earlier in the year, and that was successful. We're also struggling with our golf tournament plans. That's always been a huge success for our chapter. And we're struggling now whether, based on the information that has already been shared, there's not much money to go around this year for sponsors. So we're probably honestly leaning towards canceling the event and just hitting it hard next year. Plus, I think that, that frees up more money for the SoCal chapter to get some sponsors, right? So think of us as doing you a favor, Simon. But seriously, we've also got some things planned for later in the year that we're pretty excited about. We're still looking on having meetings. We've got a joint meeting that we're planning outside of our usual meeting area in Sacramento area in October. It's going to be a joint venture with CSI, and we're excited about reaching a new area of the Northern California area. And also, we've always enjoyed our joint ventures with CSI. We get good turnout, and it's I think it's great to have the interaction and the the member back and forth, kind of a cross pollination. We like that. So that's really our plans moving forward. We've got a technical dinner on November 4th that we're still developing a topic on. And then our usual December member appreciation event. We're still very financially strong. So everything's good with the chapter. We're just waiting really for the dust to settle on the sheltering in place, and then we'll be back to business as usual.
Great. Thank you for providing that. I know we gave you kind of a last minute notice, so I appreciate you stepping up. Next slide, Tara. With that, and IBEC recognizing how the pandemic has affected the chapters, directly, because it's really handcuffed them with their ability to host these events. A decision that was made was to provide the chapters with a potential for revenue sharing for new convention registrants, meaning if a registrant signs up that wasn't previously registered to attend the virtual or the actual convention, 25% of that registration fee will go directly back to the chapters. So I encourage those of you that are on the call that have heard that were maybe on the fence a little bit about whether to attend the virtual convention, and now have a little bit more information of what this is going to look like, and hopefully we've pushed you to the side and convinced you that it's really worthwhile. I encourage you to, if you are registering, to use this chapter code on the right here to whomever chapter you would like to support. Hopefully it's one that's in your vicinity. That way it'll help ease some of the financial burden that these chapters have to convey because of their limitations due to some of these COVID policies. Next slide. Now I wanted to make a pitch for the Western States Roofing Expo. There's historically been a strong relationship between IBEC and the Western States Roofing Contractors Association here on the West Coast. As IBEC and before that RCI, and before that the Roof Consultants Institute was growing across the country. Before the chapters really took shape, the Western States was essentially a meetup spot for members of our organization at the time. And so during their annual convention that happens in the summer, we would have a one-day workshop where members from our region could attend and network, as well as get their continuing education units. Since the pandemic, it's also impacted the Western States Roofing Expo, which is now shifted to a completely virtual format. That's going to be on July 1st. So I wanted to do a little pitch there for their event. If you are interested, again, they offer some continuing education as well as some of these other unique experience for manufacturing interactions and sponsorships and keynote addresses. So I encourage you to support that organization as well. Next slide. And finally, with what was going on due to the rescheduling and the movement to a virtual roofing expo, IBEC decided to kind of extract our one-day program, which was supposed to be at the tail end of the convention in June. And I'm glad to say all 5 speakers have committed to delivering this program in a virtual capacity. We're going to pre-record the presentations and offer a 2-day seminar in September, where we're going to have 2 presentations in one day, 3 presentations in another on the following topics. So I encourage you to attend. And if you have any other questions about this, please feel free to reach out to me. As well, I'll provide kind of an update as to our region as well during this program. I believe we have like 6, maybe 6 1/4 or 6 1/2 continuing education units amongst these 5 presentations. So thank you again. And I think that's all the information I had, except for thanking once again the IBEC staff that really are able to quickly shift and pivot to allow us to connect with you. One, obviously provide member benefits as well, but to interact with you in this forum and keep the momentum going for our members. So with that, I think, Tara, you're going to field some questions that were entered into the chat box.
Simon, we do have some questions coming in. Let's see here. So we have a couple from Tracy Myers asking if the presentations will be available on demand in case we missed a live session, and will there be handout downloads for the content of the virtual convention? We will have all of the available educational sessions available until July 15th. So there will be the live sessions, but you will be able to catch up on all the sessions basically at your leisure for the next month. As far as a handout download for the content of the convention, we will have to check on that. I'll be happy to reach out to you after this call and kind of give you a little bit more information on that. Well, actually, I do see that Brian has just answered that there will be proceedings and PowerPoints available. In addition to those attending the convention, there's an orientation tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm sorry, actually, that is 11:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So we will be holding a Know Before You Go tomorrow morning for you all on the West Coast. That'll kind of go over everything, all the ins and outs of the virtual convention, since I'm sure this is going to be a first for a lot of us. And let's see here. And will a portion of the registrations from pre-pandemic converting to the virtual go to chapters, or is that an incentive for signing up for the virtual one? So this is actually only for new registrants. Since kind of pivoting to a virtual convention and being able to actually put all of our education on there now, we will actually be only transferring 25% of new registrations to the chapters using that code. That being said, if you have registered after we've gone virtual and did not use the code, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'll see if we can work with you to get that transferred over. And let's see here. And there is a question why the cost of the virtual convention is more than the in-person convention. It is actually not. It is the same cost. As we're able to offer more educational content than ever before, we definitely have not raised the price of the convention. but it has just transferred over to a virtual format. And I don't see anything else coming through. But if anyone else has any questions or comments, I would encourage you to just go ahead and put it in that question box on the right-hand side of the screen. And Simon, I don't see any coming in right now.
All right, well, thank you for that. I just want to bring up as well the fact that, IBEC was able to pivot so quickly. Essentially, this pandemic hit right on the eve of our convention that was scheduled at the end of March in Houston. And so a lot of quick decisions had to be made, obviously in the best financial interest of this organization as well as that of our members, and how quickly the leadership was able to pull this off. In particular, Brian Palash working at the helm. It's really been phenomenal, and so I'm really excited to explore, to learn new things of what this convention is going to look like as we try to adapt the best we can to kind of this new normal, whatever that's going to look like as the economy slowly begins to open up. So I encourage all of you to stay safe. I wish you a safe summer, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And I hope to see you on Friday at the virtual convention.